What a bunch of scrubs.
Are we going live?
It says live.
Doesn't say live for me. Okay, there we go.
Smash.
Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 rated sportsbook app out there. Go out, download it on your phone today, and get in on the action. I'm your host, Rudo, joined by AJ Hafley and Evan Rowell for another prediction show as we have officially made it to the playoffs proper, ladies and gentlemen. The first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs begins this week. I believe it begins tomorrow officially. Or is everybody pushed till Wednesday? I don't think
it's tomorrow.
No, it's tomorrow.
Yeah, I thought so. So hockey that comes down to it. No weirdness, nobody playing for draft lotteries on the backside. Just try and win yourself a Stanley Cup. That is the goal at this point. Boys, first of all, how you feeling about your play-in and round robin predictions today?
The round robin ones I didn't care that much about because it was like whatever. And we all were 2 overtime coin flips away from getting the entire West correct.
Yep.
And then the play-in round actually, the 12 seeds ruined everything. And then the Winnipeg series I was mad about because I went out on a limb there and
Shifley gets taken out in the first 5 minutes.
One shift into the series, the #1 center goes down and it was like, okay. Well,
not your year, I guess.
It was like, I'm never, what can I do about that? And then irrational faith that in Minnesota over Vancouver, that was looking back on that pick, I was like, why did I do that? Otherwise, I felt good about all my picks. I felt they were all justified, and I was just wrong about the 12s. Like everybody.
Everybody was wrong about the 12s, I think. Yeah.
I gave Chicago a chance. That's all I'm going to stick with because my picks were horrible in the first round.
I will say, gut instinct reaction, AJ was the correct one because I remember when the matchups were very first announced when we did that podcast.
Yep.
I said, watch out for Chicago beating Edmonton because that's the worst possible matchup for them. And then I had 2 months to think about it and was like, Edmonton will smoke them.
I know. That's why I was surprised you guys all had Edmonton sweeping him. So I was like, But I would like to forget my predictions from the play-in. Florida screwed me. I had blind faith in them, and that didn't go well. But yeah, I mean, the East, the round robin did not go. I would say a lot of people probably didn't expect it to go that way. I know AJ had Philly pretty high, but
I was close. I got them all wrong, but I had
me too.
I had the right teams in the top 2 and bottom 2. It was just the outcome of those games.
Actual order, yeah.
I think it'll be interesting because it did seem like those veteran teams in the round robin might have been like, maybe we're not going for it. Boston looked bad.
We got the non-Rex puppy cam today.
Oh God, I didn't even see him back there.
I love it.
He just.
Who is that? That's not my dog.
I need to get a doggo so that I can have one wandering around in the background.
Yeah.
See, I said that and he just popped right up. He's like,
I know. His
name's a rivalry?
His name's Hamlet.
Yes.
Hamlet.
Yeah.
Your name or the wife's name?
Actually, it was mine because I said he looks like a prince, and then all I could think of was Shakespeare, so that's how it came up. I have big brain stuff over here.
Yes.
All right, when Evan's dog goes missing under mysterious circumstances.
It's not my dog.
Yeah, Evan's got the strong beard game going today, but
this is 2 days.
I definitely believe you.
Yep.
All right. So
were there any of the qualifying of the actual play-in series, not round robin, because
yeah,
I'm
round
pretty
robin.
burned out talking about that. Were there any of the actual qualifying series that took you guys by surprise, either in how they played out or with teams being much better or worse than you expected?
I just think in general the lack of offense surprised me because I figured goaltending would be bad, defense would be sloppy, and it was. I mean, outside of the Chicago series, it was pretty low scoring for everyone. So didn't play out the way I expected, but I mean, as far as teams go, I mean, I felt like Montreal, even though we all had Pittsburgh sweeping Montreal, I did feel like Montreal was a better team than some of these other play-in teams, and that structure ended up working out, and I guess Carey Price showed all of us.
Yeah, I think that series surprised me just because, I mean, Pittsburgh looked bad. They finished the season on a 3-8 stretch, and that's what put them in this play-in round anyway, was because they fell apart at the very end, and then Philadelphia caught fire. Otherwise, it would have been Philadelphia and Montreal, which ended up being our first round series anyway. But it was interesting to see that some of the teams, because it was the regular season was 4 months ago. But some of the teams that were playing poorly continued to play poorly. Is that was it carryover, or is it just that, hey, maybe those guys just aren't very good? Dallas didn't look like they were any good until they played a completely apathetic St. Louis team.
Even then, they played one good period to get that game to overtime, basically.
Yeah, Pittsburgh disappointed me big time just because I assumed all those vets getting a nice long break after having so much mileage on their legs, they'd come out flying. And other than Crosby, their stars did not look good. I thought Crosby looked fine, but Malkin didn't look good. Zucker didn't look like he fit in.
I thought Crosby looked okay, but we all had, we did a roundtable at the start of the pandemic. We all had Crosby as a top 3 player in the world. Yep. And Crosby looked good. He didn't look anything like that. He didn't look anything like a top 3 player in the world.
Yeah. I would say the biggest surprise for me was not that Carolina beat the Rangers handily, but that their goaltending looked really, really good. Both Mrazek and Reimer got into games, and there was no doubts about either of those guys back there. That's it. Look, if their goaltending keeps up, yeah, sure, it's Vudo could disappear in this series against Boston. Who knows? But if it keeps up, they could go deep.
I mean, they're kind of goaltending wise, they're Colorado of the East.
I'd say that's pretty fair. Yeah.
They've got 2 guys that they can roll in there. You can't really separate the starter from the backup, and the team and playing in front of them is totally fine. Playing in front of either guy, I don't think that one. Carolina, nothing about that Carolina series surprised me. That went more or less how I felt like that was going to go.
I don't think the result surprised me. Again, I just think the goaltending surprised me. I didn't think it was going to be that good from Mrazek particularly.
Yeah,
and
the Rangers are okay with how that went.
After today, the Rangers are feeling just fine.
Yeah, and I know you said no round robin teams, but man, Philly looked good.
They did.
Kevin Hayes, I mean, we all know there's an alternate world where he's the second line center here and not Philly. But man, he looks way better than I thought he would ever look. He looks in control, and that's a good team. I love Ivan Provorov, and that dude's legit. He bounced back big time this year.
Honestly, if there's one series that I expected to play out exactly how it did, it was Leafs Columbus.
Yeah.
I saw that coming a mile away.
I think we all had that as 3-2.
Yeah, we all had that going 5.
That honestly played out pretty
almost exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that I was worried about was the way Columbus lost game 4.
If Leafs had momentum going into game 5.
Yeah, just emotionally what that does to a team, how that drains them, and no problem.
Yeah. The way they bounced back was pretty gutsy. And I know a lot of people don't like...
victory laps for us. Duncan Ontario.
I got one right.
There's a reason he wasn't invited onto this show. It was that prediction.
He's still heard about Edmonton. That's why he's not here. No, I like Torts, so I know a lot of people don't, but I like him. And I think I always wonder, is he a Hall of Famer? Because I think people forget he's got a ring.
Yeah, he has a championship.
I think he's the Greg Popovich of the NHL.
I mean, Pop is getting in.
I just mean like personality and the way they go about their business and the consistency of their coaching and their success. You know, obviously Pop has just gotten to stay in one place, but
an angry Popovich. Got it.
It's crazy how much he's changed, because when he was with the Lightning, it was like safe as death, and now it's just like straight defense is how they just straight grind teams out now. So he's adapted.
I believe it's regular season points percentage, Oro, for the Stanley Cup final home team.
Yeah.
So the Avs will probably not have it. The East top end, assuming one of them makes it to the finals. The Avs might not make it to the finals either. But the top end of the East in Boston and Tampa Bay kind of ran away from the league.
Definitely.
So anyway, we can take our first period break there. It is time to acknowledge Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. I got my agave wheat shirt on right here. You can pick up one of 8 different beers on tap down at the DNVR bar, or of course head to your local Davidson's for curbside pickup or delivery of any type of beer you'd like from Breckenridge Brewery, the Mile High City Copper Lager, as well as their 12-pack mixer, 15-can mixer, you name it, you can pick it up, even from the farmhouse down in Littleton, straight from the source, if that's what you desire. And of course, we have our gaming sponsor, WGT Golf. Did not play the round I wanted over the weekend in our Big Drive Open, unfortunately, but I did feel like I finally started to figure out how to putt in that game by the end of the round. It was a struggle at first, but it started to come together. I'm feeling better about my stroke play next time we get to crack at it. So head on over to DNVRgolf.com to download WGT Golf and search for DNVR3 to join the third clubhouse. We now have well over 50 members in our third one. So be sure to jump in on that before we have to start DNVR4. We play tournaments every single weekend on true-to-life courses, whether it be Bethpage Black, St. Andrews, Bandon Dunes, tons of other awesome ones as well. So again, DNVRgolf.com to download and play WGT Golf with us today. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Enough talk about the past. Let's put our money where our mouth is and get into these series predictions. We're going to start with the East, as always, with what is after the reseed, the 1 versus 8 matchup in Philadelphia versus Montreal. Pretty by the book here. Everyone taking Philadelphia as the 1 seed. Evan, you mentioned it. They just looked supreme in the round robin play. AJ feeling a bit more confident with the 4-1 though. You really think so? Montreal just going to go down quick?
I don't know. I think that'll be a good series. But I have a hard time believing, especially with the way the biggest thing Montreal has is Carey Price, and Carter Hart has been playing brilliantly. And so I think if Carter Hart can match Carey Price, which I think he's capable of, he has the potential to be. Carter Hart is the next Carey Price. So I think we're talking about this becomes almost an accidental passing of the torch in terms of one goaltender giving his best goalie of the generation torch to the next one. And I think this is where it starts for Carter Hart. And I don't think that they've got two wins in them against this Philly team, assuming Philly continues to play the way that they did in the round robin.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy to think that we're talking about Philly having a legit goaltender. How long have they been waiting for this?
That's the thing. I mean, it's about time, man. They traded for everybody. They signed everybody. They bought everybody out. They've drafted. They finally got the truth, and the kid is unbelievable.
They've broken the "why you have to be mad" curse.
That curse was around way before him. The Roman Chechmanic curse.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, that's a throwback there. No, I think Philly looks legit. I just think I think these are two really good coaches going head to head. So this will be an intriguing matchup just because of that. Two coaches that have been around for a long time that are very, very good. And I just think Philly's talent is going to win out. So, yeah, Philly in 6 for me.
I went with 6 because I was impressed by how scrappy Montreal was against Pittsburgh. They didn't let Pittsburgh have pretty much anything for free. And sure, Pittsburgh maybe played themselves out of that series, and that's why ultimately I think the Flyers take this pretty handily. But Montreal's not just going to go away, man. You give Price, you get 2 very good games out of Price, and Montreal will find a way to grind out a couple of goals. So I think they can take 2, but ultimately Philly's just too strong for that squad. So is what it is there. The 2 and 7. This one we're going to have a little conversation about with Tampa Bay and Columbus, because unlike this one, we are not all in agreement, and we're actually kind of all over the board here. I believe in Tampa. AJ, I know, struggled with this one, but ultimately goes with Tampa. And Evan, you're taking Columbus in 7.
Yeah, I did not like that Hedman injury. It did not look good to me. It looked like a high ankle sprain, and
that was the hardest part of trying to figure this out.
That's where I flipped, to be honest, and I don't even know what's the deal with Stamkos. He's there, but he hasn't really played, and they're not really giving much about him. So you take those 2, especially Hedman, out of their lineup, and that's a different team. Yeah. And I thought it was going to be close before that, but that kind of flipped it in Columbus's favor for me. But yeah, if Hedman's out, that's huge.
Yeah, I struggled with this. This is one of the 2 series that I actually like really mentally batted back and forth how I felt about it, and ultimately I just, to steal Matt Duchene's favorite phrase, at the end of the day, I think that I just went with the talent. I really like what Columbus is doing. I picked Columbus to be the team out east as the dark horse to make some noise. But this was the one matchup I didn't want for them, because I also think that Tampa Bay is going to come in good and pissed. And they're going to remember last year, and they're going to take it personally. I mean, they've had an entire era in which they have been one of the best teams in the league, completely glossed over and made fun of because of what happened last season. And I just think that I think that that's a focused group that's going to have a big chip on their shoulder, and I think they're walking in with a little underdog mentality, especially with the injuries that they have, and that's going to serve them well. I think they need a little
chip on their shoulder type.
Yeah, thing. I think they need a little grit and grind to go with the skill that they play with. And even without Stamkos, I think that their forward core is great. Hedman is the big loss. They can't. There's no replacing that dude. Defensively, they're just okay without him.
I pretty much agree with everything AJ said. The reason I believe a bit more in the sweep is looking into this Columbus team against Toronto. At 5-on-5, Toronto shot less than 2% against them in that 5-game series, and that is not sustainable. There's no way Tampa struggles that much at 5-on-5 against these guys. I just don't see it. I think Tampa is just going to beat this team down. Not that they're a bad team. I think Columbus will probably keep most of the games close, but there's just too much talent for Columbus to keep up with there.
A sweep is Crazy, but I would have said the same thing last year to Columbus sweeping Tampa. So who the heck knows? If Hedman was there, I would have picked Tampa Bay, but I don't like the way that injury looked. And then you see his reaction. I think he knows it's not good.
It's done. Yeah.
Yeah.
It hurts, and I think we'll see if Tampa does move on, and he's still out, as if we expect. It's a high ankle sprain, it's probably 4 to 6 weeks. We're going to have a hard time picking Tampa later on, for sure. Yeah. But we can move on to the third of the four in the East here, the 3-6 matchup, which is going to be the Washington Capitals versus AJ's New York Islanders.
Oh, big surprise.
Yeah, AJ taking the Isles in 7. Clearly one that none of us seem too confident in, as we all have it going the full 7.
Yeah. Honestly, I looked at this and I was like, what's the point in being a fan of a team if you can't pick them in the playoffs? When I was like, I don't know how I feel about this series, and so I was like, F this. I'm going with the Islanders.
Just make it easy for yourself. I see.
Yeah. And a lot of this, just like Hedman, if Carlson's out, that's a big issue too for Washington. So, yeah, and Washington looked better than Boston in the round robin, but they didn't look great. So it'll be interesting to see if they can crank it up. I will say Holtby looked a lot better than I thought, so that's a good thing for them.
He has to. With no Samsonov, he has to.
Yeah.
Samsonov.
Yep. And they need Lars Eller back. I know he had to leave the bubble because his wife had a kid. But yeah, I'll take Washington to 7, but I think this is going to be a tight matchup, and this is Trotz versus old team. That's going to be the big storyline.
Here's my concern with the Islanders. They have to stay out of the penalty box. Washington's power play is just as lethal as it's always been. With Ovi on the side there, they still have a ton of talent around him with Backstrom, Kuznetsov, yada, yada, yada. And outside of Game 4 against Florida, where they kind of just wilted, they were giving up 4.5 power plays a game to Florida. So Washington's going to make you pay if you do that. The Islanders at 5-on-5, we've seen it a million times. We've seen the Barry Trotz system of full team defense. You know how that goes. That's where they need to play their game if they want to beat Washington. I don't think they can do it. Put it that way.
If it gets into a Game 7, you have to like Washington's experience for sure.
That's true too.
But something just feels really, really off about this Washington team that I can't put my foot on. They feel like the good version of Nashville to me, where there's just something about them I can't buy, and so, and then it's the Islanders. So,
that's all he had to say.
Varley.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, Varley against his old team. I mean, that was years ago now, but
yeah,
always something in the back of your mind.
Varley has never won a playoff series.
He came in and won some for Washington. Or he won one. I guess that he didn't. I don't know if he won all 4 games his rookie year or whatever he came in. But, he's not had a lot of success in the playoffs.
Came dangerously close to winning one with the Avs, but wasn't meant to be.
He played his worst game of the series that day.
Game 7, yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know why we're sitting here talking about. I mean, Varley just won a round, so
that doesn't count.
Just saying, like,
it's gonna be a whole thing for years.
The play-in round.
Yeah.
Did you actually win a playoff series or not?
I'm just saying, like, he was the man in net for that series, and
yeah,
they won the series 3-1, so it's not.
They handled it for sure.
We'll see. Like, I get the skepticism. I do think they are fighting uphill in the series, but I've got the Islanders. Go Isles.
All right. We'll leave that prediction there, and we'll head to the 4-5 matchup, Boston versus Carolina. This is, Boston certainly didn't show up for the round robin, to say the least.
Oh, did not make believers out of any of us.
Nope. So everyone taking
That's so funny.
Carolina in 6. This totally, after that round robin, this 100% feels like Tampa Bay last year to me. We're a team who just blew up the regular season and coasted down the stretch, and then they took 4 months off to think about it and decided not to show up for the round robin either. And Carolina's coming in hungry. They just swept the Rangers. They're rolling. They're confident. They're going to get Dougie Hamilton back, apparently. Carolina's got everything going in their favor in this round.
Yeah, and the Svechnikov breakout party continues.
Yep. Popped off in the play-in round for sure.
So,
yeah, I know they're veterans. They've won before, but how much can you really just turn it on in the click of a finger if you're Boston? Because it was pretty ugly in that round robin for them. And the top line didn't really do much of anything, and that's kind of what's held them together forever. And
yeah, that's what's driven that bus.
You wonder if Marchand is hurt a little bit more than maybe they lead on. Pasternak, I don't know if he wasn't with the team during training camp, so maybe he's a little bit off. But yeah, Carolina's a deep team. They get Hamilton back. Are they getting Pesci back anytime soon? Does that come out at all?
I don't think so.
Don't know, man.
Yeah, but either way, they're deep on defense, and yeah, that's a strong team that just comes at you. And I think their speed is going to kind of go against Boston really well here. So yeah,
Boston ain't getting any younger either.
Yeah, these are two really good teams, though.
The young guys that they do have are just all over the board. Like some of them are okay,
right?
And some of them you're just like, that guy exists.
Outside of Pasta, kind of just a bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
Oh, and that Nick Ritchie trade looks so bad. That dude is, he is so frustrating. I think Boston fans are probably already done with him, or they love him because they love big dumb oafs that punch people in the face.
Boston sports confirmed.
Oaf sports.
Yeah, I'm surprised we all had the exact same one.
Yeah. To me, it feels like 4-2 is like a sweep is a beat down. 4-1 is a pretty thorough handling.
Boston's good enough that they're not just going to go away, right?
Yeah, and like going 7 feels like a super tight series, and I just think Carolina's clearly better right now. I think they're better today.
The series just has that feel to it, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
It's one of those ones where, I mean, you never know. Boston win games. If Boston wins game 1 and looks amazing, people's thoughts will flip very, very quickly. But that's the magic of playoff hockey.
Yeah, they're gonna sweep Carolina, and we're never doing this again.
We tried the prediction thing. We're out.
It was too embarrassing.
Okay, well, we can take our second period break there, as we do have to talk to y'all about Colorado Rugby and the Colorado Raptors. Of course, it was announced a little while ago that the Infinity Park in Glendale will be the new official training center for the men's and women's USA Eagles 15 teams. That means that Colorado is the place to be for rugby in the United States as a whole. Make sure you're keeping up to speed with us and Colton Strickler on the DNVR Rugby Podcast. Support the sport of rugby by following along with the latest news on Twitter at DNVR Rugby, and be sure to get in. Even if you're new to rugby, Colton has put up a bunch of 101 pods to break down the game for you so you can learn rugby and get into a new sport here in the Denver area. He, of course, also has behind-the-scenes access and tons of interviews with a bunch of players in and around Infinity Park. So if you want that special access, head on over to thednvr.com and check out our DNVR Rugby coverage. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast. enough beating around it. Let's get into the juiciness that is the Western Conference. First up, the 1 and 8 seed. Gotta have Vegas versus Chicago. I don't think anyone's going to beat around the bush. Yeah, okay. Yeah, everyone's pretty confident in this one.
I almost picked sweep on this one, too.
I wanted to, but Chicago's going to come out and win game 1, and I'm going to be sitting there feeling like a jackass the whole time. So I was like, let's just give Chicago the 1.
Yeah. Plus, Vegas got Pacioretty back today. And
what they needed. More offense.
Yeah, that's that's the matchup I think the Avs would have smoked them to. So, Vegas is just a significantly better team.
7-game series, proper playoff teams. You just have zero faith in that Chicago defense to do anything.
I mean, just watch that series. Again, the matchup against Edmonton was perfect.
It was just a shootout, basically. Yeah.
If they had gotten Nashville,
yep.
If they had gotten pick any other team out west, and I think Chicago goes home. But Edmonton was the right matchup because they were a mess defensively. They were a mess structurally. They're way too reliant on those top stars. And like Connor McDavid showed up and did what he needed to do. You know who didn't was Leon Draisaitl. Leon Draisaitl was just a dude in that series.
He had
and
one good game, really. Yeah.
He needed to be a bad dude, and instead he was just bad. And that's their whole thing, is that they have that 1-2 punch that nobody else quite can match. And when only one of those punches shows up and the other one doesn't land, well, this is what you get. So, and now Chicago, like, they've got all that pedigree, all that championship winning experience, and that's great. Kubalik looks like he's the real deal. Dylan Strome is even okay, but Kirby Dach looks awesome. But like, for real, they have no defense, and Corey Crawford was still giving up 3 goals a game. Like, you're going to give up 3 goals a game, even against that kind of a team. I'm not buying Chicago as even competitive, really. I gave them the 1 because I'll say that I gave them the 1 win out of respect for what they've done.
For Vegas, Leonard in net, or do they stick with Matt?
Oh God, no, it's Leonard.
Okay.
Yeah, Kirby Dach does look pretty legit. A little concerning with being in the Central Division, but yeah, Vegas is just they're so deep, and Mark Stone is, man, watching him, he's probably the smartest player in the NHL.
Guy's on fire too.
Yeah,
like, that's a dude. Like, if Draisaitl had played to his potential the way that Stone has been, Edmonton is sitting here.
The gap between the top of the West and the bottom of the West feels like the Grand Canyon, man. Based on the play-in round, almost all the West teams, you're looking at those games and you're like, this is bad hockey, dude.
Yeah.
None of these teams are really showing me anything scary.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Like, these guys can get up into Edmonton, Chicago. Okay, both of these teams can score. Neither one of them has any semblance of a structure. Neither one of them pretends like they're trying to play defense. And neither one of them has a goaltender that scares you at this point in their careers.
Yeah, hard to argue.
And then Nashville and Arizona. I mean, Nashville. That was basically Toronto Columbus out west. It was one team playing super opportunistic hockey and the other team drowning the other one in shots and just getting goalied. Well, that's life.
Yeah, the West sucks this year. I'll just say it very, very quickly.
Put it in plain terms. Yeah.
Yeah. It's 2, maybe 3 teams. And, being on the Avs perspective, if there was a year to make a run, this is it.
All right. Well, we will get to the 2-7 matchup in a second, but we're going to make you wait a little bit. Let's go to the 3-6 in Dallas and Calgary. Probably the most interesting series, I would say, in the West as far as confidence levels go in either of these teams. Evan and I both have it going 7. AJ taking Calgary to go hard.
Look, I can't spend the entire round robin talking noise about Dallas and how I can't wait to pick against them and then give them the respect of going 7. They suck, dude. I don't think they're any good. I don't think that they, especially, I love Anton Khudobin. He's not Ben Bishop. If I had full confidence that Ben Bishop was healthy and was going to play that series, I might feel a little differently. I don't. So I don't. As it is, Calgary's feeling sexy. They're feeling good about themselves. They have all the mojo that they didn't have last year. They have a little bit of swagger now. They have a little belief in themselves. It doesn't matter that they basically got the free bingo square with all the injuries Winnipeg suffered. They still went out and they struggled, but they got through and they can feel themselves a little bit. I think that there's a confident team against one that's not.
I think you're overrating Calgary, man. I think Calgary is not a good team.
I don't think they're any good, dude. I just think that Dallas has looked like garbage. They've played like garbage, and they had to win in a shootout against a completely apathetic Blues team. And I'm not buying what they're selling. I think Dallas sucks, and I've said it all along, and I was going to pick against Dallas no matter who the opponent. Calgary gave me some pause because I think they suck too, but
that's exactly where I'm at. I have this series going 7, and I think every single one of those 7 games is going to be awful to watch. I think this is going to be the worst series in the round 1 by a long shot.
Well, it's a really good thing that they get the 3:30 slot tomorrow.
Great. Either way,
prime time.
I just don't see. My issue with Calgary is, one, Cambot I think is super inconsistent in that you never know what you're going to get out of that guy, especially when it comes to the playoffs. And 2, their offense just isn't consistent either. They have nothing that I can say, look, when it comes down to it, this is something they can lean on. Dallas lacks that a little bit too, but they at least have a Tyler Seguin that doesn't ghost mode like Johnny Gaudreau does.
Is Tyler Seguin even healthy? Didn't he miss like 2 of the 3 round robin games?
That's a real question. It is.
Yeah.
Either way, I could 100% see it going Calgary's way, but I think this is a slog of a series that both teams are playing for the honor of losing in the second round.
Yeah, I was closer to going 4-2 Calgary than to flipping it Dallas's way because Calgary's goaltending is the concern, but it's like, does it even matter? Dallas can't score. And I think Calgary's they're a quick team. They have some offense. I love Miro Heiskanen, but I mean, I watched those round robin games. Alexander Radulov looks awful.
He looks bad.
He looks so bad. And he's supposed to be one of their top offensive players. And
Jamie Benn, same thing. Like Jamie Benn might be a bad NHL player now.
Yeah, it's especially if Sagan's not healthy. And Klingberg missed a game in round robin. Bishop's not there. I don't know what's going on with that team. They're just they got lucky with the way that this was set up, that they were pretty much guaranteed a decent matchup. But I actually look at this Calgary's. The way it worked out in that Winnipeg series, they got pretty lucky, and now they got lucky here that they got the best matchup they could have asked for, and I have them winning it, and I think that they're going to be able to score just enough goals against Dallas because Dallas can't score at all.
All right, so basically no faith in either of these teams is the short answer.
Yeah, it's funny because we basically just ran down both of those teams and we're like, they both suck.
Yeah, that's all there is to that one. Avs are the 2 seed, so if Dallas wins and the Avs win, they would play each other.
Cool.
Well, is that guaranteed? Yeah. I guess that is guaranteed because they're the 2 and 3. So Calgary's a different story, but either way.
It's not guaranteed because if Vegas loses and Colorado wins,
then the Avs
Colorado,
are the 1 seed. Yeah.
But
But no one's picking Vegas to lose here. So
Right. I'm just saying. It's not guaranteed.
For sure. You're correct. All right. Let's go to the 4-5 matchup here. Vancouver versus St. Louis. St. Louis being the 4 seed. We all took St. Louis, but nobody knows how long this series is going to go.
Rudo, you said last series was you don't care about watching it. I feel like the same about this one. I have little to no interest in watching this series at all.
Oh, really? This is the series out west I'm actually excited about.
Yeah, I have
because I have the least confidence in what we're getting, because I don't know what version of St. Louis we're going to get. If we're going to get the round robin St. Louis, I think Vancouver is going to have a very legitimate chance in this. If we're going to get the St. Louis that shows up and actually cares shift to shift, I think we're going to have I think 4-1 is a lot more in line.
The story is St. Louis is going to win and Vancouver can't get over the hump, but how competitive can they be based on St. Louis's gameplay?
Pretty much. I mean, St. Louis is going to dictate this. Look, I think we would all agree St. Louis is the better team, but the fact that we all have them in different games means we all have different levels of confidence in which Blues team is showing up. Yeah. And to be honest, like Vancouver looked good at times against Minnesota. They looked way more dynamic. They have that high-end skill, and then they go into a matchup against the Blues where their advantages are exactly the same. St. Louis is just the rich man's version of what the Wild are these days. So I think that Vancouver going into a series having the same exact advantages that they did last time, except they're also going to run into a quality goaltender in Jordan Binnington where, like, hey, Alex Stalock was fine, but it's obvious that Markstrom is the better goaltender, and that got them through a series. That's great. But now they're gonna have to beat a legit goalie in Binnington. And I think that's the wall.
Markstrom and Binnington are a wash, right? Like,
I think Markstrom's better.
You think?
Yeah.
I both of them feel like they've been doing it for such a short amount of time that I have no idea. But I think that at their peak, they're pretty much on the same level, but Binnington's done it in the postseason before, and Stanley Cup walks, man.
I think Markstrom's a better goalie, but Vancouver's defense is not good, so he's still going to face a lot of chances. But
yeah,
I think he's their chance to win this. But yeah, I mean, Blues are I think they're a better team. The Canucks to me are just like, they have Pettersson.
Yeah, the Canucks.
Brock Besser is not like that exciting a player to me. It's Pettersson. They have JT Miller, who's having the season of his life. Bo Horvat's a really good second line center, but it's just not. They don't have that high end talent, and yeah, I still think St. Louis is going to pull this off just because Vancouver is such a. I don't know if it's a poorly built team, but they're just very. It's just a very bizarre lineup they have, and I don't think they have enough high-end pieces to pull this off.
Not usually the one to bring up the experience factor, but Blues are the defending Cup champs, and Vancouver is a very young team with minimal playoff experience. There's going to be another level, and I'm curious about this, actually. We saw how tightly they called things in the play-in round and the round robins. Do the refs continue to call games that way? Because the less penalties that are called, the more that's going to benefit the St. Louis Blues.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to play a little bit dirty. They're going to play a little bit on the edge. And the more they get away with, the more things are going to lean in their favor. So I don't think Vancouver can keep up with them on that side of the game at all, even a little bit. I think that the Blues are going to run them over physically to a certain extent.
Yeah, I fully expect the Blues to take runs at Pettersson and Hughes. That's just how they do it.
I definitely think St. Louis is gonna punch Vancouver in the mouth in a way that Minnesota couldn't.
Yep. No argument there. All right. Let's do it. Let's stop beating around the bush. Give me the Avs versus Coyotes predictions. What do we got? If any of you picked Arizona, you're banned from this podcast. All right, none of you did. That's the good news. So we have 2 with Avs and 6. I'm taking the Avs in 5. I got the confidence. I think the Avs come out, they storm through game one and just roll through this series. I know AJ's afraid of the goaltending a little bit. I know that's a decent team over there that scores by committee. They have talents like Holland Kessel, but this Avs machine is just going to walk through them. I think their depth just puts them to shame.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Blackhawks would have been an easier matchup, but I almost feel like Arizona, I think the Avs will win it. I feel like Arizona maybe prepares them better moving forward because it's maybe a similar style to what they might see in the Blues or the Stars in the next round. So it kind of gets them prepared for a team that is just going to lock it down defensively. So you just get a better idea of what you're going to see moving forward, and the Avs talent should win out. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a good thing moving forward for the Avs to play a team like this in the first round.
I'm terrified of Darcy Kemper and whatever the hell has gotten into his Cheerios over the last 2 months or 2 years, because that dude has flipped a switch and is all of a sudden elite. And watching him just lock it down. Nashville put 50 shots on goal. And I mean, they are the kind of team that I think Colorado could run over. I think there's a decent chance that this is a 4-0 series and that Darcy Kemper just can't hold it back, right? If the Avs play an average of a B+ game throughout the entire series,
Super McKinnon shows up and Rantanen's firing one-timers.
Exactly.
Like that.
This could be a quick series. Like, we could be realistically, I could be spending my birthday next Monday watching them eliminate Arizona. Like, that's just, that could happen. I think Kemper is going to steal a game or two here. And they play so opportunistic where the Avs are, it's just not hard to envision the Avs playing a game where, kind of like what they did against St. Louis in the round robin, where they're outplaying them. They're getting shots on goal. They're getting chances. They just can't quite beat them. And then a perfect shot beats whichever goalie ends up in net, or a tipped puck or whatever. Like the goal they scored against Matt Duchene, or against Nashville, that goes off of Matt Duchene randomly and into the net. And it's like, and it's not like your typical in front of the net deflection. Puck hits a dude who's standing 15 feet away and just takes the perfect angle and flies into the net. And you're like, what?
Having watched Ryan Graves let the cherry picker sneak in behind him twice in the play-in rounds, it's like, I bet you Arizona gets one of those.
Well, Grabner gets a breakaway every game.
I was going to say, you can already pencil in Grabner for at least one goal with Ryan Graves on the ice.
Yep.
Yeah, it's I think this series is going to make some Avs fans clench their butts a little bit, because it's going to be, I don't think it's really going to be a blowout series. I think every game's going to be kind of tight, but that's just because that's how Arizona plays, in my opinion.
Well, and the Avs have struggled with these guys over the last several years. And it hasn't mattered the talent disparity. They have struggled with this team.
Yeah, and I mentioned it the other day. I think Arizona is one of the few teams that can actually skate with the Avs a little bit. So that's going to be, a little bit tougher. But like I said, I think if we're talking long term here, you would rather, if you play Chicago, then you have no idea. It's going to be a little bit more run and gun, I would think, where you're just running through a defense that doesn't know what they're doing on Chicago's end. Whereas, you're going to have to work for it a little bit more, be a little bit more patient against Arizona. So I think it could be good. But yeah, the Avs talent should win out it, but I do think it's going to be a little scary at times.
I do think it is the point about preparation for other rounds is a great one. If they go from playing Chicago to playing St. Louis, that's a dramatic shift in gears. If they go from Arizona into St. Louis, then it's not. You're still playing that muck and grind and defensive oriented, and worrying about an opportunistic opponent that wants to forecheck you to death and that is going to be physical and it's going to make life hard on you shift to shift. If they end up with somebody other than St. Louis in the next round, who knows?
And, I mean, there's going to be some interesting ebb and flow there either way, with a lot of people picking Vegas as a Western Conference finalist. That's a team that does not play like these Arizona, St. Louis, Dallas types.
Right. Like Arizona, St. Louis, Dallas are all kind of in the same archetype.
Yep.
And that's their most likely path to the Western Conference Finals, is to go through those three teams.
Mm-hmm.
Two of those three teams is their most likely path. And if they find success here in this series, then that just that gets them set up for next round where they're feeling good about themselves and they're feeling confident and they can get through it. And I mean, talent wise, I don't think there's anybody in the West that matches up with them, even Vegas.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Avs are the deepest team in the West, both at the top end and all the way down their forward core, certainly. I think you put it pretty well when you said, look, they're a lot like Carolina in the East. If the goaltending shows up, they can beat anybody on any given night.
Yeah. They have the kind of really high-end talent that Carolina has needed to take that next step. The Avs have a little bit of everything. You can't the one thing that you can look at them and say is, well, which goaltender are they going to get on any given day?
That is the question.
Literally, which goaltender are we?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We don't even know which one. Bednar did say today that he's done thinking about it. He said, I've decided. And obviously he wasn't going to tell us.
At least he knows. That's progress.
I like the fact that not only does he know, but he has confidence in it.
Yep.
He's like, hey, I know which guy I'm going with in game one. My gut still says it's Gruby.
Same. I think he sticks with Grube. But our one final prediction, we didn't make up a graphic for this because I forgot about it. But in the play-in round, we asked who the Avs' best scorer, highest scorer would be. Everyone who picked Mikko Rantanen was pseudo-correct, as it was a tie between him and Nazem Kadri, though Kadri did score goals and Rantanen did not.
And I didn't even read the question right.
But I'm going to pose the same question to you for round one. Rantanen again, or can the big McKinnon step up and be the star?
I'm not betting against Nathan McKinnon in this postseason.
I will go out on a limb and say it's going to be Kadri, because I think that line was consistently probably their best, even though Landy had some off moments, but I like the way that they controlled the play, and I thought Kadri looked really good. And that first line still looked a little, even though they had their chances, looked a little discombobulated at times. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say Kadri in this round here.
All right. For the sake of covering all our bases, I'll stick with Rantanen then. And we have McKinnon, Rantanen, and Kadri covered. So when Andre Burakovsky leads the Avs in scoring against Arizona,
Comfort.
Well, what's crazy is they had their top five guys all had 3 points.
Yep. Donskoy 3, Burakovsky 3, McKinnon 3. And
Kadri
like I said,
Rantanen with 4.
This team is crazy deep. Even third line guys like Comfort had 2 points. Nemesnikov had a goal. He was all over the lineup. So that is
I
what
think you mean fourth line. That's how they're using it.
I mean, it's whatever you want to call it. The Calvert, Belmar,
we'll see.
Line had no
We'll see
points.
how that continues in this series. Because I know Bednar has said previously that he doesn't number his lines. He's like, anywhere where McKinnon is my top line. But after that, it depends on the matchups and how we want to use those guys, because we have a specific idea of when to use them and what to use them against. I'll be curious to see which line ends up getting that ice
third
time.
Line, yeah.
Like I mean, I think the Belmar line is like the third-ish line, because those are all their top specialists.
Right. Well, especially if Avs get out to an early lead, who are they going to use to shut down other teams? I mean,
they're just kind of they're going to roll them at that point where it's like, hey, we've got this.
Yeah. So, I guess that's pretty much it. Any other off the wall predictions or anything you're looking forward to in round one from either of you? Any games?
I mean, most of the East series are very compelling, I think.
I agree.
Whereas the West, I'm like,
I wonder how much of that is just the fatigue from we're so familiar with all these teams.
You know exactly how these teams are going to play every single game type of thing. Yeah.
We've got St. Louis and Dallas, who are Central Division teams that we watch constantly. Calgary, who we saw in the postseason last year, and then it's Vegas and Arizona.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like Vancouver, like none of us are
worried about,
big believers in.
Yeah.
So
yeah, mine's less fatigue because I can't really have fatigue when I haven't watched much hockey in the last 5 months. But it's just more the East there's a lot of good teams. I feel like anything can happen out there. And I wasn't on your guys' podcast before this, but I love that the Rangers got the first pick. I personally think that's awesome. I know people don't like to hear it, but it's good for the NHL to have a star player end up in New York. And there's already
wasn't enough.
A lot of people are already zaprudering that film of the
spiked ping pong ball, baby.
Dropping.
The spiked ping pong ball.
But it's like, come on. I mean, when was last? I don't think the Rangers have ever had a first overall pick. I can't remember anything.
They did.
What?
When it was the original 6?
Yeah.
In 1965, they drafted Andre Veilleux first overall.
Oh.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Remember it like it was yesterday.
Anybody know how many NHL games Andre Veilleux played?
I'm going with 0.
We're going with 0.
I think they'll at least pass that.
He was drafted from the Montreal Junior B.
Wow. First overall, coming out of Junior B.
And there are no statistics on him beyond 1967.
You'd love to see that. Does not bode well for Lafreniere's career. Rangers' historical first overall picks.
They use a common hockey name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of interesting series, especially in the East. That Boston-Carolina series, I'll be watching that one closely because I think those are 2 really good teams, and one of them's got to go home. And I just love that both teams that were going to be first place in their conferences had to drop to 4th. I think that's kind of hilarious.
Tampa and Columbus Part 2, I think, is going to be super interesting, especially
fun series. Yeah,
especially because one of the reasons Columbus beat them last year was Victor Hedman got hurt, and so it's like, oh, we're really running this back this year.
There's a part of me, if you've listened to some of the episodes on the podcast, you know I love watching terrible television. And Dallas Calgary screams terrible television to me. So maybe I'll just watch the train wreck and not be able to look away. We'll see. But
yeah, if either team scores 3 goals in a game in that series without an empty net being involved, it'll feel like high entertainment.
Dallas scores 3 goals and it's a miracle.
The bar is low in that series. All right. The bar is low.
Yeah. The bar in that series is one that you accidentally step on.
AJ, Evan, do you know what else the bar is low for?
Our Manscaped ad transitions.
Something to do with balls.
What junk looks like, whether it be in the bedroom or in the locker room, all right? You guys, everybody out there, need to step your game up. With Manscaped, you can get 20% off and free shipping when you use manscaped.com and use code DNVR20 at checkout. You can get their lawnmower trimmer 3.0 to raise your bar and make it look nice down there in the forests. Or, of course, you can get anything else you need, whether it be anti-chafe deodorant, whether it be breath mints, cologne, you name it. All of your manscaping products, hair care products, whether it be on your chest, on your back, below the belt, anywhere, they have you covered. So be sure to head on over there and get your products. Make yourself looking a lot better than this Dallas Calgary series is about to look. We are out of here for the day. Thank you, everyone who tuned in live or is listening after the fact. Always much appreciated. We will be back tomorrow with a mock draft show, officially giving the New York Rangers Lafreniere and going on down the list to see how the Central Division might shape up based on this year's draft. So keep an eye out for that show. And until then, we will talk to you guys tomorrow.